Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell, for another Elite 11 team reveal ahead of Game Week 24. We've got Craig on this week, guys, and we're planning ahead for double game weeks, blank game weeks, and all the rest of it. We've got Liverpool assets on the brain. We're going to show you some stats around them. Do head over to fantasyfootballfix.com as well to get your push notifications enabled for all of our elite managers if you haven't already done so. There are timestamps on the video as well, guys, if you do want to hop around. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Guys, welcome back to the channel, and Craig, welcome back again. It's a little bit quicker than usual. I've got you back on. We've had some people taking some well-deserved holiday times from FPL, but you're getting back onto the channel. You're going to talk to us around your Game Week 23 points so far and look ahead to 24 as well. How's it all been going since the last time we spoke, mate?
It's a recurring theme, Tom, but every time I come on here, I end up saying it's going shit, Tom. So it's going a wee bit in the wrong direction, if I'm being perfectly honest, which is the curse of Tom. I think that's what it's all about. But overall rank isn't so bad. But the reason I'm on here is that I'm in this Elite 11 thing on your great website, and I therefore compare myself to the other Elite 11. And it's going in the wrong direction pretty damn quick right now.
Okay.
My overall rank isn't so bad, but compared to these other shit hot players, then I'm starting to feel really rather amateur and casual right now.
Okay.
So let's fix that.
We are going to fix that in this video, Craig. And look, it's not as bad as you're making out, mate. I know you and I were talking pre-record, and there are some big plans afoot, guys. So do stay tuned to the video to see what Craig is mulling over. Okay, because we're going to be looking ahead to Game Week 24, of course, guys. But I'm sure everyone watching this video will be aware that there are, of course, double game weeks in the pipeline, and of course blanks to negotiate as well. Craig, you've got 4 chips in hand as well. There's lots and lots of opportunities to pull those elite managers back in, I'm sure. So without giving too much away, what's the kind of drastic thought process that you're thinking about ahead of Game Week 24 that you mentioned to me just off camera?
The one I just mentioned before we came on. Well, that was wine related, but it did allude to the fact that it's not going as well as I want to. I have a few fires in my team which are just not going out. One of them is Badiashile, if I'm saying his name correctly. Who,
yeah, that's close enough. Yeah.
If you ask me, is hands down the best defender in the team. The problem is that Pochettino seems to change his team on a weekly basis. Yeah. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Charlie Taylor seems to have, I don't know what the hell is wrong with the kid, but he's just not coming back. So I've got 2 non-appearances on my team. Yeah. I just transferred out Darwin on Friday night before the double was announced, me thinking the double wasn't going to be announced. Yeah, that's a lesson to myself. I can't preach, well, wait for more information until the end. That's me just being stupid, basically. So that's the way it goes. And my rank is just a little bit, it's not free fall, it's not terrible, but it's not. It's just, we talked before about 100k by Christmas. Yeah. Well, I was almost there, but it's just been going down ever since. And I just feel a little bit, there's a number of things in the course of this coming week which could go one way or the other. And what are they? I am, by design or by desire, I'm going to say this completely the wrong way, but I'm basically balls deep in Mo Salah. I've chosen to keep him in my team come what may, with the forlorn hope that he'll be fit for 25 so I can triple captain him. Now, before we came on tonight, I just checked the stats. I just checked the stats on just checked the stats on Fix with his ownership. He's owned by, in the top 100k, which is give or take where I am, or where salary. Yeah. His ownership is 7.2%.
Nothing, is it? Absolutely
nothing. In the top 100k. Now, if he became fit, and I could nobody would bring him in. I say nobody. The vast majority wouldn't bring him in because of the blank in 26. So that for me is just an uber differential TC option in 25. So I'm holding on for that. Now, if they say, or if Klopp says on Thursday, his foot fell off in training, then I'm screwed. Right. So I have to eject on Salah. That's the first thing. The second thing, I guess we'll come to it, is that there's an FA Cup replay this week.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Villa and Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So short, that's an awfully long version of the story. I am tempted to wildcard in 24.
Beautiful. Didn't expect it, guys.
Get ready for 25.
I have to say, guys, when I got Craig on for the prelim chat before we hit record, and we are recording as ever Sunday night, I was not expecting to hear plans of a wildcard pre-24, but that's pretty exciting. And look, you holding Mo Salah as well when we were preparing the content for this, I found that really interesting as well, because I'm sure there will be managers watching, Craig, who did similarly. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. And the triple captaincy, God, that would be tempting, wouldn't it, ahead of that double game week if he does get back to fitness. Craig, we've got to look back a little bit. We haven't actually finished game week 23 just yet. We're recording Sunday night, so the Man City-Brentford game hasn't yet played. And, of course, that's going to have a huge bearing on the overall scores. But let's take a look at how your game week 23 shaped up ahead of a prospective wildcard in game week 24. Okay, so you've already mentioned this defence, Craig, and I'm going to have to ask you. I'll have to ask you about it as well, because let's start with a Stupinian. So someone who's been a bit of an FPL darling in the early part of the season, obviously picked up a bad injury, came back, looked amazing, and then they've just been leaking goals and what have you. I just want to get your thoughts around your recommendations, really, for managers who own him. He's not that cheap, right, at around about 5 million. Do you think he's still a reasonable hold for managers, or do you think he's somebody who should be on the chopping block?
Eject.
Yeah.
Eject. Yeah. It's three. I appreciate this season more than most seasons that clean sheets are at a premium, even for those defenses which are, all things being relative, tight, such as Arsenal and City. But he's not even playing left wing back or wing back. He's playing left centre back for most of the games, at least that which I've seen, and they're playing shit. Yeah. So it's a get the hell out of Dodge situation for me. If I had, and I don't, but if I had a luxury transfer going forward, then I would just cut my losses. It's I don't quite know. I don't pretend to know what's happening at Brighton, but at the end of the day, it's only the points on the FPL page which matter, and there's not enough happening at Brighton for me right now. So fine, there are plenty. If you have a luxury transfer and he's one you can move on, then there are so many options you could move him on to. Of course, going forward. Yeah. So for me, but the only issue is he's not the first one on the chopping block. No. So. Yeah.
No, I concur, and obviously didn't start in the game that just played out over the weekend as well, and. Like I say, he's not the cheapest as well. So I'm sure he will be being viewed as a bit of a cash cow as well. You talked around Badiashile as well. God knows what's going on at Chelsea at the moment. Another horrible result for them today against very impressive Wolves as well. Don't want to forget their contributions. And Cunha remains someone who's been on the tip of my tongue over the course of the season. We should get him back at some point, guys. I'll look into that.
Do it.
Let's look into the midfield. Obviously, super unlucky with the Gordon injury. I mean, he was talked around in readiness for game week 23 as well as a great option. Bagged the early assist, but then hooked at the break with an injury. What are your thoughts around Newcastle and Anthony Gordon as well, Craig? Let's say if that injury is a bit more severe, is that someone you'd look to move on immediately, or you think he's worth a longer term hold?
Well, I thought he was, but it's all injury related. You moved on too fast there, Tom, because we're talking about the Estupiñán. Just to clear it. So going back to my
let's go back.
Is wildcard an option? So Estupiñán. Yeah, he could go. In an ideal world, he could go. What about Porro?
Okay, let's talk about Pedro Porro. So Tottenham in good form.
Do you have him? I forget.
Yeah, I own Pedro Porro. I have done for a while there. And look, Spurs are a good team playing well. I don't seem that interested in defending, but you mentioned the premium or the clean sheet possibilities not being that plentiful for any team. So put a lot of stock in his attacking prowess, but maybe not done that well. So is he another person you're thinking, actually, this guy is not good value?
I mean, we talked last time about as an FPL player, when you sit your ass down on the sofa, open the bag of crisps and open a beer, and
Yeah,
who would you rather watch? I mean, Porro is at
yeah,
the top of the list as an FPL owner,
definitely.
but they're just so absolutely gash in defense, and so wide open that, I mean, you can be easily be in, well, you were, I think, this weekend in minus points before he'd even touched the ball. He could go for something more solid. What the more solid is, that's an interesting question. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to selling Porro. Anyway, Gordon.
Yeah, I just let me come back on Porro though, because I mean, he's more expensive, isn't he, than a Stupinian, Craig? So I guess he would
He
be
is.
another
He's
me.
sneaked up. He's sneaked up.
Yeah, he
He's what,
has. Yeah,
5.4, 5.5 now?
yeah. I think it will depend on when people
It's
got him, but yeah, it's
yeah,
not
of
an
course. Sure.
insignificant amount of a chunk of change, is it? To think about. I guess he probably didn't prompt the question because I guess he doesn't lean himself to the biggest sort of problem that people are going to be faced with their squads ahead of 24. But no, take your point around him and how open that Spurs team are. What about Anthony Gordon though, Craig, and your thoughts around this prospective injury and what it will mean for your team?
I have mixed feelings. I haven't actually told anybody. It won't come as a surprise to anybody, but the Elite 11 guys have this Slack chat channel, right? And I did try at around 11:59 to move the captain from Haaland to a certain Newcastle midfielder,
Ooh,
and was too late.
gosh. Okay.
So it was a rush of blood to the head, and it didn't. I was just it came too late. So I'm really counting my lucky stars that
Yeah.
Thanks for the 4 points, but my God, it could have been so much worse if if I'd seen him. Well, assuming that Haaland did something this weekend. But
We'll
I think
see.
we all the problem is you and I can talk for hours about how much we hate Eddie fucking Howe, right? So it's we would love to know what his situation is before game week 24. What are the odds? Seriously, I mean, the
Long.
guy's such a dick.
Yeah.
So I we'll get to it. Let's just park the whole wild card thing. But if I
Yeah.
was a Gordon owner, I'd be looking at how can I move Gordon to Jota.
Yeah. Feels the
That's
sensible move, doesn't it? Yeah.
if you have a way of getting there, even with a hit, then I think that's the just eject, because
Yeah.
unless he says with any degree of certainty, or unless Gordon comes in on the screen and gives two big thumbs up.
Yeah.
It fucking worked. It did it. Right, there we go. Sorry, that's me being 50 years old and childish. And unless Gordon is absolutely nailed, then we're not going to get any news
Yeah.
from Eddie Howe. So yeah, I think you have to eject,
Yeah.
especially with 24 and 25 having some good fixtures for the Liverpool guys. So it's
Yeah.
it
I mean,
feels.
it feels like that's where the prospective moves would be if you weren't to wild card, right, Craig? Looking at this at your squad here, I mean that front three of Haaland, captain, yet to play, absolute massive haul from Ollie Watkins in the away game at Sheffield United as well. Good on people who put the armband on him as well, and quite a rare blank for Solanke as well, who's been great for owners for a long period. I can't imagine you've got massive kind of reservations or doubts about that front three, Craig, right? Is that a fair assessment, or do you have thoughts around how that could potentially be improved?
You're actually going to have to repeat the question because my phone's fell out there just for a brief
Oh,
moment.
no worries. I was just asking around the front three. I mean, you've got Captain Haaland ahead of the Brentford game. No plans to move him, I'm sure, ahead of a double, etc. Monumental haul for Ollie Watkins as well, away at Sheffield United, and I was commending the people who captained him. And then, a rare blank for Solanke. So to me, that front three looks rock solid. Is that how you read it, Craig, or is there thoughts that you have around potentially improving the composition? What are your thoughts around the forward situations in FPL right now?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, Holland rose. I forget which day it was. We didn't on Sunday, so I think it was Thursday. Between Wednesday and Thursday,
He
Holland
did.
rose
Yeah.
a little bit unexpectedly by 0.1, which certainly caught me on the hop. And heading into 23, then I had, if I was to use one FT, it would have been Watkins to Holland. I would have been remarkably relaxed, intensely relaxed about making that 1-free transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got priced out.
Right.
So Watkins lived to fight another day. And then we had no news about the Liverpool move, the Liverpool double.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, we've discussed this before. I have mixed emotions, like all Darwin owners, about Darwin. And yeah, so he went because he was flagged and the double looked unlikely. But any of Watkins or Solanke, there were arguments for all of them to stay. There were arguments for all of them to go. Solanke, obviously, looks like he maybe has a double on the way in 28. Watkins is a pretty good, I mean, you could say, okay, he hasn't got penalties. He's not on any set pieces. He doesn't seem to bang, but Watkins is a good captain option for 26.
Mm-hmm.
In the blank, so there were reasons to keep all of them, reasons to sell one of them for somebody else. So I've actually kind of forgotten what the question was in the first place.
No, you kind of answered it.
Those three. Yeah.
You've answered it really. It was as how comfortable you are with that front three, because I imagine that front three is going to be a shared trio for a lot of the folks viewing the video, Craig. So it's just to get your thoughts around whether or not that was an area that you'd be looking to move in. And I like the shout of Watkins in 26 as well as a potential captaincy option to consider as well. I got to commend you as well, Gabriel on the bench sitting there with -1. That's got to feel pretty sweet. Even in a game week where your back three have picked up a total of 3 points.
What was that? Hey, just balloons. Okay, so
yeah, that was cool.
I have no idea what's going on with this new iOS. So Gabriel is second bench, but he's behind Charlie Taylor, who is FPL dead. So I'm basically relying upon Foden and Haaland to show up.
Good point. Yeah, just to play.
Which is relying upon Pep Guardiola not to absolutely pull down my pants and burn me over, which has never happened before to anybody in FPL. So
it doesn't happen.
I'm intensely relaxed.
It doesn't happen. Yeah.
Never. So I'm really not counting those Gabriel. I've been dying to laugh. Mm-hmm. I've been, having benched Palmer, having had a few bits of FPL bad luck, or as Corbs would say, lack of skill. I'm not going to laugh my ass off until the game week's over.
Very wise.
So
very wise.
Say nothing.
Yeah, say nothing. All right. That sounds good. Look, I mean, there's a lot of stories there that we've got into around 23, but let's take a look at how your bus team's set up, Craig, ahead of 24, prior to any wildcard talk being played out. Okay, guys. So it's been a while since we've seen a 3-5-2 formation in FPL, hasn't it? I mean, it was in vogue for a long, long time early on in the season, right, when we were commending the myriad of options in the midfield. It seemed like every team was set up 3-5-2, but we always come back to 3-4-3 in FPL at some point in the season. That's been the case for a little while, but this is back to 3-5-2. Obviously, Gordon's in the team. We don't know about his injury, but look at that. Mo Salah sitting in there as well. You held him, Craig. I've got to ask you around the thought process there. It doesn't feel like that's been something that many managers, you mentioned the ownership stats as well, chose to do. What are your thoughts around it in retrospect? Are you still thinking it's the right play? I mean, a lot I guess depends on the prognosis, but strategically, are you happy with how you came to that decision?
I am actually, because we could talk for hours about what I could have done differently and why I still have that Chelsea chap whose name I apparently can't pronounce correctly, and why I still have Charlie Taylor. And it's not that I haven't made mistakes for the last while, but the Salah issue was, well, there was only, until Kevin came back, there was nowhere to spend the money.
Good shout.
And I thought, I was kind of inspired by Mark Mansfield losing millions on Reece James earlier in the season when he sat on his bench while he was injured. Not millions, but
it's millions. That's worth wine markup. It's millions. Yeah,
that's worth wine markup. Yeah. So I just couldn't spend the money. So I was like, well, it's always a cost benefit of analysis of why you would sell and why you would keep, but it felt like it wasn't sufficiently good reason to spend the money or spread the money. So I kept him with this vague hope that, well, first of all, just to be clear, I thought the whole Liverpool agent, Egyptian FA, he's so desperately injured, his leg is hanging off by its ligaments, was a bit of bullshit to pacify the Egyptian media. I just say that I'm eating my own narrative or my own justification for keeping him, but I was hoping that there was a healthy dose of BS with the analysis of what his injury was, in the hope that if he was back for 25 and if there was a double, then especially with Haaland being injured, he would be a fantastic TC option. And it's got better. The irony is it's become better and better an option, or it's become more and more appealing an option as the weeks have gone past, because his ownership has fallen and fallen. So we're back to the stage now where he's 7% owned in the top 100K. It's a really hard argument to bring him back. So I'm prepared to stick my balls on the line on the FPL wise sense and just say, well, I'm going to stick with that and I'll go for it in 25. I mean, if he gets ruled out completely, then okay, then I eject. But it seems interesting enough an option to stick with it. So that's why I stuck with that.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. And you're absolutely right. I mean, the last few videos I've had the guys on, Craig, they've all been coming on to these videos with slush funds of, I think Andrew Neve had over 10 million in his bank at one stage. So I do understand why you've gone that route. Let's talk about transfers, Craig. So if you proceed down the non-wildcard route, and we have got a slide coming up in just a few moments, guys, looking at some specific stats around some Liverpool options. What sort of transfer plans are you thinking around in terms of 24? Craig, would you be looking for a one move or a potential hit, and what would that kind of look like? What would you be thinking in a kind of normal transfer game week scenario here?
Hits wouldn't put me off, and I will say hits wouldn't put me off, and I've been sat with that Chelsea chap and Charlie Taylor for the last.
I've still got Matty Cash. I mean, it's somehow these people survive. It's weird.
Yeah. No, the double game week defines everything, and the fact there's a blank in 26, and the fact that Manchester City played a double and the 26 weighs it very heavily in their direction. But of course, then there's blank 26 and there's blank 29, which we don't know the full.
I don't know how that
scale
looks
up yet. So there's a huge amount of variables which won't get any clearer before the week is out. So who is on my list of? In terms of my transfers, me personally, Jota. And the last time we were on here, I'm going to take some fucking kudos for this. The last time you asked me which Liverpool player do you want, and I said Jota.
You picked him up loads.
I did.
You did.
Did I buy him? Did I fuck?
No.
So I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, that was a mistake. But I won't make the same mistake again. The problem that I have, which doesn't affect other people or most people, is that I've got Salah in my team, so I haven't got that cash to throw around. So until I decide what to do with Salah, I don't personally have much cash to start throwing it. I mean, I could throw Saka's money at a Jota and then upgrade Gordon to a Doku or a Grealish or a Bernardo or I don't know, something mediocre like that. But the problem is that, leaving aside that Saka's doing okay right now, until whichever night that will be, Thursday night, we don't know whether they're going to play in 29
or not.
No. And I guess then we start coming into chip strategy, but it's and everything is interlinked right now. So but Jota appeals. Darwin I would have kept if I'd
I mean, that's
not been so rash.
Well, it wasn't rash. Don't be so hard on yourself, man. I mean, the announcement was so late, being made on the Saturday morning is brutal to people who've done similarly. I don't think you can beat yourself up too badly for that. Saka, we did see come off with a bit of an injury, right, in the win over Liverpool. So don't have a prognosis on that yet. And he did walk off. It wasn't like it was a
I think Arteta said he had a knock. It was nothing big. He should be fine. I think that was the quote.
Fine.
So
nothing to worry about there.
I'm hoping he's okay.
And sitting here as a West Ham fan who happened to watch them at Bristol City a week or so ago, you don't want to be transferring out anyone who's playing us at the moment, particularly an offensive player. So it's not something I would be recommending there as well. And if Corey Baker was on the channel, he would be saying to us all about how great Saka's stats have been for a
His
prolonged
underlying
period.
stats,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's been.
And he's right.
He's right. He's been
So-
peddling that message for a while, and he's right. So clearly, he's a player who's has earned his stay in the team for sure. Phil Foden as well. Obviously not going anywhere ahead of the double. Have you seen him sort of since De Bruyne came back? There's been some chatter around his role being different and less effective for FPL. You concerned, Craig? You think he's still a good prospect ahead of the double?
He's certainly not worth a transfer out. If you haven't got him,
if you haven't got him,
then
if you haven't got him,
if you haven't got him, then no question that with KDB back in the side, it's not exactly unexpected. You know, he's playing wider, and he's less dangerous, at least from an FPL point of view, when he's playing wide. But it doesn't make him into some kind of eunuch in FPL terms. So he's still capable of. Yeah, let's not go there. He's still capable of delivering FPL points. So, I mean, in order of priority, then of course, you know, we know who the best Man City player is. Then, and I think pound for pound, I think Foden and KDB, in my mind at least, are really level pegging.
Yeah.
KDB is a whole lot of money more than Foden. He's also a chunk of change less than Salah, but in my mind, they're still quite equal in terms of their value for money in FPL terms. So if Foden is the one you can go to and you can't afford KDB, I really wouldn't start getting upset about it. Foden can still do serious damage coming in from wide. So
fair point. Yeah. All right, mate. Cool. We've mentioned Liverpool in dispatches throughout the video, so we do have some stats now, guys, on how some of their more popular assets compare. I'm going to get Craig's thoughts around how we try and bring in the right Liverpool players ahead of double game week 24. I'll start with an apology there, guys. It's not double game week 24, it's double game week 25, of course. But these are the Liverpool assets that we've called out here. And we should say as well, these are the 23-24 per 90 stats, but they don't include the game that's just played out in the defeat to Arsenal at the Emirates. But there's still some lovely numbers here, Craig, for these players. You've mentioned Diogo Jota already. You bigged him up a few game weeks ago. Darwin Núñez has been a nightmare on and off for people, but he's wild, crazy fun. And Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back from an injury as well. We know what damage he can do. People will be looking to bring these players in, Craig, ahead of the Burnley game in 24 and ahead of the double. Order of priority, what's your recommendation and what's your observations here in terms of sort of FPL prowess for these guys?
In that sense, it's quite simple. I mean, I haven't changed my mind since last time. Jota he's the daddy.
Okay.
That's the one I'll be looking to bring in if I didn't have any of them.
Okay.
Darwin, and it follows the numbers. It's interesting this here, but it follows the numbers. Darwin would be my next choice. Trent would be my third choice of those three.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, the numbers don't reflect it, but especially, I think today was. I thought Arsenal. I mean, if you take, I don't know how much you saw today.
Yeah, I watched the game.
I thought Arsenal were absolutely fantastic.
Outstanding, weren't they?
Liverpool were shit.
Yeah, Arsenal were crap. Arsenal were brilliant.
Really.
Yeah,
and Liverpool had just a bad day at the office. Or I don't know what they had for breakfast, but it went wrong. I don't know, was it 0.39 XG or something?
Yeah,
it was really, it was one of the lowest XGs for the whole season. It was poor. It was really, and it was poor from the back to the front. I mean, everyone made mistakes now. Beckham made mistakes, and Gomez and Van Dijk, and Christ help Trent. And he was off on 59 minutes. And it didn't seem to be tactical. It seemed to be, he's not.
He wasn't at it, was
all cylinders firing yet. So for me, it's Diogo and it's Darwin in that order. And if you have the luxury, but of course, I hate this phrase. I absolutely hate this phrase every time I hear it. But it depends upon your team.
Yeah,
of
course.
It depends. It's if you've got a fire to put out in defence and you have the money to go to Trent, then
he's still a good pick to you. He's still context. Do you think he's still a good pick? 8.5 mil.
It's funny you mention it because before we came on, we talked about it, and I've had this. Yeah, is it wildcard time? And then the question becomes: if I was starting with a blank piece of paper, would I have Trent? I probably would.
Yeah.
But only because I'm wildcarding well, not because I'm listening, but if I was to wildcard in 24, aiming at the 25, he would be gone in 26.
Yeah, I see.
It isn't somebody I would carry for 27 onwards. It's only because of the double. Whereas Jota, in the absence of Salah, and Darwin, just full stop. I mean, obviously Darwin's a particularly special FPL player to own.
That's one way of putting it.
But Jota with I'm being polite for once in this podcast. But it's so Darwin's special. Jota is properly special, right? I mean, if Salah's not there, then he's delivering numbers that nobody else can really deal with. So I think he's the number one name on the list. So, but if you haven't got a midfield slot that you're particularly prepared to give up, but you're sitting with I doubt it, in an attack, somebody want to move on, then Darwin's your man. And if it's a defender and you've got the cash, then look no further than Trent, and then move him on in 26.
I mean, people need to focus in, Craig, as well on the 24. The home game against Burnley is a great fixture, isn't it? I know we will rightly and completely understand the great double in the Brentford and Luton in 25, right? But just Burnley in of itself, a home game against Burnley, you'd be targeting that fixture anyway, right? Even though without doubles.
Almost more than the 25 games, because do I really see Liverpool winning hands down both of those games in 25? And I mean, certainly not Luton.
Yeah, Luton gave them a game. Luton gave them a game at their own patch as well.
Exactly, and it's and they're good for them. You know, they're good value for the money. They're genuinely delivering. Whereas Burnley can be pushed over.
They can. Yeah, definitely.
So it's 24, which is the interesting one. But I mean, and the other thing, which which isn't on the slide, is ownership.
Talk to us about that then, mate.
So, well, I mean, it's 24, game week 24. I suspect there are people watching this video who are, like myself, thinking, I wish my rank was a bit higher.
Everyone watching is thinking that.
Well, okay, yeah. So let's work on the assumption that Fabio isn't watching this video. Then everyone wants their ranks to be higher. At some point during the season, your mind turns to ownership.
It does.
At least mine does.
Yeah.
Anybody tells me no, I'm sorry, it does. It just does. So, so let's look at the ownership on those. I actually just, for once, did a bit of research before this video thing. So, Jota is owned 34.2 in the top 100k, according to this thing called fantasyfootballfix.com. Trent is 37.3. Darwin 9.3.
Wow.
And of course, the one who's missing from the list is my man Salah at 7.3.
Yeah.
So if you're really looking to make ground,
Darwin's your man.
Then Trent's not your man.
No.
Jota, I mean, those points are big, and there's no bigger differential than getting points every week. But Darwin's your man. Yeah. But as somebody who's just jumped off the Darwin train, I can't say I'm missing it.
Yeah, keen to get back on.
I mean, even today when he came on, Christ alive, it's a rough ride. But Darwin and Salah are your men if you're looking to make ground.
I've got to ask you, mate, just before we move on and talk around some of the potential ramifications of the cup games in midweek and what that will mean for game week 29. For people who are coming into this game week with, let's say, no Liverpool coverage ahead of game week 24, what would your kind of strategic advice as a experienced manager be in terms of the number of players to get for 25 and the number of hits that you kind of countenance for that, for people who are kind of thinking, is it worth just going full send and getting and trebling up and burning a whole load of points to do it? What do you think? Forget the who.
2.
Yeah, two's where I was.
No, forget the who. 2, it's always team dependent, blah blah blah. But I think 2, if you've got none, then don't go for more than 2, because you'd have to have the mother of all lucky benches to be able to cover your ass in 26. And the odds of that are pretty much 0 point something. So I 2, and I think I've already said which one I prefer. It's Jota and Darwin, but if you happen to be sitting on some huge amounts of money and can't spend it on, for some bizarre reason, on Man City assets or whatever it is, then Trent, of course,
Yeah, still viable. Yeah.
Could be interesting, but I just think Jota and Darwin offer so much value.
Okay.
That if you have, for some reason you haven't got them, then you should go there.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks, mate. All right, well, that's a good coverage of the Liverpool discussion. We just mentioned, guys, as well, there are midweek replays to consider for the FA Cup as the FA Cup comes to a conclusion for this round of fixtures as well, and that's got particular ramifications on 29, which we're going to try and bring to life in the next slide. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you just a moment to just digest what's on screen here and read the text here, but quite difficult for us to talk with any complete sort of concrete clarity, I guess, around this, Craig, because it's all still up in the air. But we did want to try and highlight to the viewers that there are some certain ramifications we need to be mindful of when making transfers. So how are you seeing this kind of quandary playing out in midweek in terms of what we're going to know prior to the Game Week 24 deadline?
Where to begin? Okay, let's assume that I don't drink the bottle and wildcard before the night is out.
Okay, we'll make that assumption.
Depends. We'll make that assumption. Let's say that if Aston Villa win against Chelsea,
okay,
I'm looking down at my notes on my post-it notes, which I took before we started. So if Villa win, then Arsenal and Chelsea do not blank in 29.
That's right.
So if you're sitting with Saka and own goal hero Gabriel,
and non-assister as well, yeah.
Non-assister, yeah. Suck it up, baby. That's just too bad. He's second on my bench. That's too bad. So if you've got Arsenal players, then you ain't gonna want to sell them. Well, hang on. Let's take a step back. Sorry, there's an issue before this, which of course is. And that's the next slide, isn't it? So this is all predicated upon: do you choose to free hit in 29, or do you try to deal with 29 without a free hit?
Yeah.
Let's work on the assumption that you don't want to free hit in 29.
Yeah, you want to try and navigate it through. Yeah.
Let's just say the free hit chip didn't exist for a moment. Then you would, if you had Arsenal and Chelsea players, then you would really, really want Aston Villa to win on whichever night it is, Wednesday
in midweek,
in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
In midweek, because then they don't blank in 29. Obviously, Chelsea will still blank in 26, and you'll have to deal with that. But you have a few weeks to get your house in order before Game Week 29. Conversely, let's say Chelsea win. Then Aston Villa and some really, really awful team. I can't forget the name.
Who are we thinking? Not West Ham.
West Ham. That was it.
I should have expected that to be played out. Sorry.
It's too easy. So then it will be Villa and West Ham who were playing 29. And that's, I don't know about you, Tom, but that's significantly less appealing to me because I only have what's his name, Watkins, and I just saw Bowen, and I have that Areola chap in goal, and none of those seem remarkably, throbbing.
No, not at all.
I would really, really, really prefer for Villa to beat Chelsea, and on the basis of their current form, I wouldn't want to bet against that.
Absolutely not.
But
yeah,
once you kind of know which way that game's going, then you can take a decision about how you want to attack, pretty much everything from here on. Because if Arsenal don't play, leaving aside Saka's playing well and his stats are good and Corey likes him, and quite frankly, if Corey likes him, then who am I to argue against? But if Arsenal don't play in 29, are you already willing to bet against Saka in 24 onwards and move him to, for example, a Jota, to raise another $1 million to allow you to upgrade, for example, again, Trippier to Trent, for example. And that's like, it's a little bit 3D chess, isn't it? But it's the same every single year. So it's one of those, I wouldn't do a thing until Thursday.
And that's,
or Wednesday, whichever day that game is.
Thank you, Craig, for that, because that's clarified things in my head. And I think ultimately that's the advice here to the guys watching, right? We need to see the results of these before we kind of definitively make anything with any semblance of confidence, right? And it's interesting actually they're 29, because when I first saw that, guys, and 29 is a huge blank, as I'm sure most will be aware. I thought that free hit would be inevitable for those folks who have it, but of course some folks won't have it, and other folks strategically will look to navigate their way through as best they can without using it and looking to cash in at another opportune moment. So it's going to be interesting to see what strategically the elite managers favour as we get towards that game week 29. Interesting. Craig, I'm going to ask you now, game week 24, what's going to happen to the Craig team prior to that? Are we expecting a wild card? How would you sum things up? Is it going to be a wild card, a roll, a one transfer? What's your gut feel?
Too many variables. First of all, the Salah. I would like to hear something positive about Salah during the course of the week. Secondly, I want to know how 29 is looking, which is to say, I want to know how this Villa versus Chelsea replay goes. Third, according to all these X% of likelihood of being a double people, who I think everyone knows, then I would really like to know before the week is out about the Bournemouth game. I mean, ideally, but and by which I mean the Bournemouth potential double in 28.
Yeah, which looks nice, right?
Luton, it looks great, and it's really interesting. I mean, just on the off chance that no one's been hearing or reading about it, so there's a chance. So Bournemouth had an outstanding game against Luton, which was the one which was cancelled because the I was going to say injury, the incident with their captain, Tom Lockyer. So that was abandoned, and that needs rescheduling. Neither Bournemouth nor Luton are in the European games, so there's no particular rush to reschedule it because they have many midweeks which are free, but there's a chance of it being put into, so they say, game week 28, which would give them a double against obviously Luton at home, and the other team would be Sheffield United at home.
Me likey.
Yeah, me likey. And I'm saying this as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, just so we're completely clear about this, but Sheffield United are shit.
It wasn't a great weekend to be a Sheffield United fan, was it, with the Wednesday?
It was a fucking great weekend to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan.
I thought you might get around to mentioning that.
Yeah, I do try. So Sheffield United at home, that's obviously doesn't get better than that. Yeah. Luton at home, quite frankly, I don't think there's any team in the league right now who really fancies playing Luton at any destination. So I'm not entirely sure how that goes. But nonetheless, Solanke, triple captain, game week 28 against Sheffield United and Luton at home, that's awfully appealing. So I would like to know that before deciding upon my strategy for 24 and 25.
Makes sense.
Having said that, so what was the question again? It was what we're going to do before 24.
Yeah, how's your team going to look? We saw how the bus team was set up. I was trying to work out how's it going to look for when game week 24 starts. What's the team looking like? Is it a wild card? Is it one transfer? Is it a roll? What are we thinking?
If I know, well, there were all sorts of parameters. I'm really sorry for being.
No, I love it.
But if I hear some less than HAPPY news about Salah, then I think he has to go. Yeah. I mean, if it's we'll see how he is, then I can live with that. But if it's always a setback, then okay, eject. Yeah.
And if it's an eject,
news about
let's talk around that, mate. If it's an eject, is that just a straight swap to Diogo Jota at that point? Is that what you do?
No, no. Well, yes and no. It's a straight swap for Jota and Gordon to KDB.
Yeah, I like it. I see.
I mean, it's so simple. I mean,
makes itself, doesn't it?
It doesn't even. It picks itself completely. It's not worth thinking about. So that would just take care of itself. But Arsenal game, Salah fitness. Gordon fitness. I'm ever so sorry to sit on the fence,
No, it's all right,
just
mate.
way so.
It
It's lots of variables in terms of how I'd go about it, but
I was going to see how
but
well you
having said that,
dance around it, because
yeah,
it was an impossible question. There's just too much to.
it's an impossible question.
Yeah,
But my rank has been steadily dropping since we last spoke, and even when we last spoke, I think it was on the wrong direction. I'm falling behind the people in my leagues who I compare myself against.
hmm
And there is a slight fuck it, it's showtime,
yeah,
let's do it feeling about this week where it could go this way or it could go that way, and this way being the wild card and just going all in.
love it. Absolutely love it. Look, I don't want to influence it because it's obviously your card. I won't influence it, but I love the thought process, and it's almost like you've still got enough of the season left for this to still make a massive material difference with a wild card, and gives yourself the chance to reap the rewards. So look, whatever you decide, Craig, I wish you well, because it's been an enlightening chat. I've loved it. It's gone all around the houses, but I think we've talked everything through. Is there anything that you didn't get off your chest, mate? Anything you wanted to mention before we wrap things up?
I suppose do you still have that chip side?
No, we didn't bring that one up.
I'm thinking
It's
not,
the only one we didn't load up.
oh, okay, right,
Apologies.
okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. No, it's fine. No, I think that's it. I mean, not everyone's in the same
No, they're not.
mental state, and as I am, and everyone's in different situations. But I think for most people,
hmm
leaving aside, we're thinking about wildcard. I think for most people, then it's head in the direction of finding a decision about what you do with 29.
Yeah.
I think 25 is easy enough. That's like, well, if you can triple captain somebody who's fit from Salah or Haaland, there's probably not going to be a better week. Looking forward, the issue is about whether you free hit in 29
hmm
or whether you free hit in most likely 34.
hmm
The doubles are going to be quite unusual this year, by the look of it. So I think you have to start looking into whether you free hit 29 or whether you navigate 29 and save that free hit for later.
Yeah.
And once you have that clear in your mind, clear, but once you have an idea of how it could look with your team, then you can start thinking about how you attack 24, 25, deal with the blank in 26 and move on. That's, I think,
Yeah, it makes
that's
sense.
pretty much where the season is at right now.
It is. No, well summarised, mate. Definitely. So, I mean, this midweek is really pivotal, isn't it, to see how those games play out, and knowing what that's going to mean for 29, and I guess the other fixtures either side of that one in the blank game week. Craig, been an absolute pleasure, mate. I could have chatted for hours. Thanks for your thoughts. Thanks for your analysis on Liverpool and the stats you gave us around ownership. That was super helpful. Guys, if you did enjoy the video, do please smash a like on the video before you leave, and do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com if you haven't already done so, and to our YouTube channel as we push forward, trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before the end of the season if we can manage it. And if you do have a comment or a question for Craig, if you want to talk to him around his potential wildcard, then do please comment down below, and I'll be back with you next week, guys, after game week 24. Take it easy, guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.